Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. I'm David Breeden, Senior Minister. Welcome.
Good morning and welcome to the online Sunday Assembly of First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis for April 26, 2020. I'm the Reverend Kelly Clement, one of the assistant ministers here at FUS. I'm joined online by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden, Senior Minister, the Reverend Jim Fody, Assistant Minister, Allison Wyeth, Director of Religious Education, Barb Brooks, Music Director, special guest musicians Peter Mayer and Jen Eckes, and an incredible tech team who is making today possible for all of us and all of you. Thank you for making the effort to be with us today wherever you are. First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. We are an intentionally and radically inclusive congregational humanist community dedicated to promoting a brave, free, and responsible search for purpose, meaning, and justice. Our theme for the month of April is liberation. You know by now that our building is closed and our hearts are open. Please be sure and carefully read the Friday email each week, and coming this week, the May newsletter. These communication vehicles are where we will post updates about activities and ways to connect. If you're not on the email list, you can sign up there via our website, www.firstunitarian.org. It's at the very bottom of the homepage. Our website also has lots of good information about ways to connect remotely, to learn more about the society, get contact info for our ministers and staff, and donate to our work in the world. During assembly, please be sure to take a glance at the chat windows that accompany the video streams. Rev Jim will be posting some resources there, and it's totally okay to chat during assembly. After assembly today, we'll be holding a virtual coffee hour via Zoom. The information for how to join will be shared in the chat. Rev Jim is hosting this social time, which we expect to last about half an hour, like our usual social time, and you can come and go as you wish. Jim will divide us into smaller groups by using the breakout rooms feature via Zoom, and there will be a few suggested starter questions to get the conversation going. Our annual meeting is coming up, and yes, we're having it online via Zoom on May 17th. Sunday, May 17th at 11:30 a.m. When our May newsletter comes out this week, please check it for details about the annual meeting. Our board and staff have been working hard to keep the business of the congregation as normal as possible. We look forward to seeing many of you there. On Wednesday evening this week, Rev David will be hosting a session titled The End Times in These Times, a humanist view of apocalyptic prophecy. Details were in this past Friday's email. We will be continuing to have an online-only Sunday morning presence until we get the all clear. Thank you again for joining us.
Good morning, my dear friends. I'm Allison Wyeth, Director of Religious Education here at FUS, and I'm so glad to see you all. I hope you're enjoying our beautiful warming weather and all the signs of spring you see around you. I'm here today to invite our kids and youth to a special add-on assembly designed just for them. We'll light the chalice, share our joys and sorrows, and hear some music and a story. We meet today at 11:45, not long after this assembly, so I hope to see you there. I also want to let you know our Tuesday evening programming for parents and adults connected to RE is going on hiatus. Though we're not meeting this Tuesday, I will be working to put together some new offerings for our RE folks. So look for an email from me with details about upcoming online family game night and family watch party. And of course, I want to remind our kids and youth about what's coming up for them. This Friday, our K through 5th and 6th through 9th groups will start out with their usual check-in to keep connected, and then we'll try a brand new game, Tiny Talent Show. Maybe you can wiggle your ears or roll your tongue. Come and join us and show us what you can do. On Thursday, our 10th through 12th grade youth will have some time to connect, and then we're going to try out a watch party together. It should be a really fun time. And just a quick reminder, links to all our meetings and exact times can be obtained by email from me. I hope to see you there.
Each week when we gather, we light our chalice and share one of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, or one of the aspirations of our congregation. This week we light the chalice remembering our aspiration to live joyfully and ethically in loving, reverent relationship with humanity and nature.
If you will repeat with me, please, our congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Reverend Jim here with today's Time for All Ages. In honor.
Greetings everyone at FUS. It's Peter Mayer. I'm so happy to be with you today. I'm here to play a song for you, of course. This is a song inspired by the fact that we are all on a planet together circling a star. This is something we didn't know for most of our human history, and what a beautiful fact it is. So here's a song to celebrate that. It's called One More Circle. We have been weighed down by sadness like a stone. We have yearned, we have yearned. We have sometimes felt so utterly alone. While we turn, we've been stricken by the wonder of it all. Stricken down. We have sometimes felt so faint we want to fall. Overcome, but all in all, I'd say this year in flight together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? We have raised our fists in anger and we've tried to work it out, that we need each other, we cannot deny. There is no doubt, so let us weave another dream in outer space, while we're turning on this planet home that holds our human race. We still are learning, but all in all, I'd say this year in flight together has been fun. What say we make one more circle around the sun? Say this year in flight together has been a good one. What say we make one more circle? One more circle, one more circle around the sun. Round the sun. Round the sun.
Each Sunday when we gather, whether it's in person or online,
And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
The reading this morning is from Juliette Kayyem. She's a former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama, and today is the faculty chair of the Homeland Security Program at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. She's also a national security analyst for CNN. She says this: I have come to believe, as a security expert, but also as a mother of three, that among all of its flaws, the worst aspect of Never Again was that it let experts like me run the show. We have failed to show that the conflicts and choices inherent in protecting the homeland are really not that different from those Americans and people around the world encounter every day. In our day-to-day lives, people try to protect those closest to them, but they also plan for the bad things that will happen. The essential aspects of those two priorities, preparedness, planning, flexibility, communication, backup systems, learning from mistakes, are essentially the same for both. By too easily separating the homeland from the home, experts have failed to nurture the vigor and resiliency, which is the greatest strength of a nation that was built on vulnerability, the American public. And if the United States could build resiliency one home at a time, maybe in another 15 years, the country will have stopped asking the question to some anonymous bureaucracy with strange acronyms and esoteric risk assessments. Are we safer? Instead, people should start embracing, am I ready? That's the end of the reading. Now, imagine this scene. It's a quiet morning in the downtown of any American city. The streets are quiet. A milk truck delivery goes by. It's a golden sunrise. Suddenly, over the horizon, massive flying saucers appear, so large that they blot out the sun. Whoever could have expected this? The latest military technology is hurled against these invaders, but all of our military might is no match for them, and, to quote H.G. Wells from War of the Worlds, never before in the history of the world had such a mass of human beings moved and suffered together. The legendary hosts of Goths and Huns, the hugest armies Asia has ever seen, would have been but a drop in that current. And this was no disciplined march. It was a stampede gigantic and terrible, without order and without goal. 6 million people unarmed and unprovisioned, driving headlong. It was the beginning of the rout of civilization, of the massacre of mankind. End quote. Now, Imagine that distinction that security analyst Juliet Kayyem suggests. The difference between those who asked, "Are we safer?" and those who have embraced, "Am I ready?" You see the difference in the two questions. The answer to the question, "Am I safe?" is always necessarily no, because no one is safe, not ever really. Why? Because being safe and being alive are incompatible things. Certainly some people are relatively safer than other people, and some people have more wrapping and padding and connections than other people, but no one is ever safe, really. That's the human condition. We and all we love are fragile and contingent. We can pretend otherwise, but the pretense is an illusion. Yet many of us expect our government to keep us safe. A thoughtful security analyst tells us that that is not going to happen. Still, let's be real. It is the very function of governments to assure the safety of citizens. Yet this guarantee is, on the other hand, an illusion. But let's think about that foundational document of the United States, our Constitution, the first words, "We the people." In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. To form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Let me go down that list one more time. Is our union becoming more perfect? Are we establishing justice? Do we have domestic tranquility? What are we defended against? Is there general welfare? Have we secured the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity? Sounds like a list of failures to me. This past week, we watched as our fellow citizens broke the most fundamental rules of a civil society, disregarding simple instructions designed to protect the vulnerable population and healthcare workers in order to protest and assert their rights as individuals. We're always debating what the framers of the Constitution did and didn't think, but again, that list: justice, tranquility, common defense, general welfare. What is wrong here? Juliet Kayyem gets at the crux of the matter. Government fails because we as individuals fail to do our part. We expect safety, but too often we see safety as a right, not a responsibility. Those ideals in the Constitution are communal values. I don't care whether you agree with the philosophy of the Constitution or not. I don't care whether you believe that the framers of the Constitution were Christian or not. Doesn't matter. The words there are very clear. They enumerate communal values. And those communal values are about common responsibility. Are we safe? No, no one is ever really safe. As Juliet Kayyem writes in the reading this morning, the better question is, am I ready? The first question leads to false conclusions. It's asking the impossible of a government. Every dawn, we will all be asleep. The second question leads to a truthfully contingent answer. I'm as ready as I can be. I'm watching. I am prepared to act. But notice that there's a higher moral commitment than just I and me and mine in these words from the Constitution. Whatever their religious commitments, I'm fairly sure many, if not most, of the framers of the Constitution saw that "we the people" phrase is about acting from moral commitments higher and outside the Constitution, acting as a we and on us. So let's think about that "am I ready" question. Lots of people are saying that the present moment in this pandemic in general feels surreal and unreal, that it's extraordinary. But that gets the situation exactly backwards. The fragility of life that we all are experiencing today, that's the human experience. That's the truth of being alive on this planet. That bubble, that pink cloud of security, that's the illusion. As I've said before, it always was a function of privilege. Are we safer? Think of all the security measures after 9/11 back in 2001. Think of the focus on, are we safer? Think about how that failed, because in 2005, Hurricane Katrina occurred. How important were all those anti-terrorism measures to those people standing on their rooftops waiting to be saved? Safer. Safer from what? We were safer from that thing that had already happened. We weren't safer from another thing that was going to happen next. We were safer, but we were not ready, because we had not talked about responsibility or readiness. We had only talked about airplanes and terrorism. The title of my talk today is "At Dawn We Slept as Usual." "At Dawn We Slept" is the title of a 1981 book by historian Gordon William Prang and Donald Goldstein, who was working from Dr. Prang's notes after Prang died. Prang was the chief historian on General Douglas MacArthur's staff in occupied Japan after the Second World War. He had first-hand eyewitness testimony. Prang wanted to figure out who was to blame for a massive military failure. "At Dawn We Slept" is about December 7th, 1941, and the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The facts are not in dispute. At 7:53 a.m., Japanese fighter planes attacked U.S. ships at anchor at Pearl Harbor. It was an attack that took the U.S. fleet completely by surprise. It was a devastating defeat to the U.S. military, and none of that is in dispute. What is in dispute is who was responsible for that massive failure. It was, after all, completely avoidable. The title, "At Dawn We Slept," is a statement of fact. The why is still not known. We also slept on that dawn of September 11th, 2001. The why is still debatable. We can assign blame, but in fact, the disaster occurred because of multiple factors. All disasters always occur because of multiple factors. We slept on that dawn of August 23rd, 2005, as Hurricane Katrina bore down on the city of New Orleans. We also slept as the novel coronavirus spread across the planet in late 2019 and early 2020. Fact is, we're always going to be asleep. The next disaster won't be like the last disaster or the one before that. The fact is that we are never safer due to the fact that the next disaster is necessarily unknown. No government can ever cover every contingency. What we can do is ask ourselves, are we ready? That is not a question of having all of our bases covered. It's a question of seeing reality for the confusing mess that it actually is, and developing resilience, both socially and personally. As Shakespeare has his character Hamlet say, the readiness is all. Let's face it, the Western world is torn between two poles, individual worth and dignity at one pole, and the common good at the other pole. And these are often incompatible, not always, but often. We've been sleeping at a lot of dawns the past several years as our democratic institutions have crumbled before assaults unimagined by the framers of the Constitution. Democracy is not a one and done thing. It's a complex set of values that must be openly and seriously debated all the time. Democracy doesn't make us safe, but it can make us ready. Winston Churchill did not say we can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. But that misattribution is out there because it speaks a truth about the collective psyche of United States citizens. We believe in doing something, even if it's wrong. Furthermore, if that attempt doesn't work, we're going to try something else. Take, for example, U.S. attempts at nation building and spreading democracy. We aren't very good on that record, are we? We've also held on to that city upon a hill things for so long that the phrase American exceptionalism has become a wink and a smirk worldwide. The persistently wrong attempt at the everything else that is currently killing Americans is our mind-bogglingly dumb conviction that we are somehow Fortress America, surrounded by uncrossable seas and impenetrable walls. The cosmopolitans among us have always known better. No, we don't have the best healthcare system in the world. We don't have a system. We don't have the best transportation system. We don't have the best economy. You get the picture. Yes, perhaps it goes back to that city upon a hill thing that's woven into the very fabric of the American experience. Talk about exceptionalism and some Christian crusading going on. I admit I'm too old and cynical to think that these persistent myths will die easily or anytime soon. Still, those of us dedicated to a peaceful and progressive world community where all people treat each other as neighbors, we can reach out in this time of globally shared loss and vulnerability and dislocation. We can work right now toward a United States that comes down off its hill and joins the world community in both vulnerability and in strength. Now, here's something that Winston Churchill did say. The price of greatness is responsibility. The price of greatness is responsibility. It's time we listen to voices like Churchill and Juliet Kayyem from the reading this morning. The question is not, are we safer? Instead, we must embrace, am I ready? Ready for what? Well, that's just the point, isn't it? We have to be ready for anything because no one is safe. But those who are safer than others must step up to do that hard work. And how are we going to step up? Well, another good question. And the answer, I think, always is, am I ready? Mentally, psychically, spiritually, emotionally. As the human rights activist Marian Wright Edelman once said, service is the rent we pay for being. It is the very purpose of life and not something you do in your spare time. Our purpose right now today is to wake up and realize we are not safe. We are, however, ready to join in and cooperate. If you will repeat with me, please, our extinguishing chalice words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. If you enjoyed this presentation this morning, consider making a sustaining donation to help keep the voice of Unitarian Universalist humanism loud and strong during these difficult times. You can download the Give Plus app for your smartphone at the App Store or at giveplus.com, or you can go to our website, firstunitarian.org. Until we meet again, be fearless, ask questions, hold on to what is good. Strengthen the weak, comfort the fearful, serve the suffering. Do what makes you come alive. Rejoice in the power of the human spirit. So may it be. Thanks for listening. You can find much more about humanism and what's happening at First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis by visiting our website at firstunitarian.org.